We're on the cusp of a brand new season, a brand new era of Doctor Who, and part of me was a little bit worried that it would have a big reception in the UK, because of course it's Doctor Who and they want to really push it, of course. It's a brand new era, a brand new Doctor, all eyes are going to be on the programme, even if they like it or not. It's been very heartening to see that Disney Plus has been putting its money where its mouth is in regards to promoting their brand new Disney Plus acquisition. We've been seeing so many interviews, so many videos coming out from America over the past week as Ncuti and Millie have been doing an epic press tour of the United States. They went around the New York subway where basically Series 14, Series 1 branding is all over these trains as well, the underground subway system for New York. My tab is genuinely full of just some of the interviews that they've been doing for the past week. For example, here's one with Screen Rant as well.
It is, yeah. Like he's most scared. He's facing a villain that he has no, like, he doesn't feel like he has the power to defeat.
There's British Vogue as well, a chat on Good Morning America. There's Millie Gibson there.
Giving me such a beautiful platform to kind of explore this new personality and this world with the Doctor, and yeah.
There's Good Night with Seth Meyers as well with Ncuti Gatwa.
So exciting.
It's so exciting.
There's an interview with IMDb.
We've seen from the...
There's Nerdist as well.
Time now.
ABC News. Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson on ABC News. And also, the UK promotion has been a lot of fun as well. There's this little fun edit for Match of the Day, which is one of the BBC idents they've been doing for this past week.
York City of Manchester today. Definitely a lack of atmosphere in the stadium.
Well, it's hard. It's hard when you're up against a goalkeeper with cybernetically extendable arms.
I've got to give the Doctor some flowers there. I couldn't agree with him more.
That's so cool. They got like Robo Lineker to do a Match of the Day thing. There's an ident as well. This is shared by Josh Carr on Twitter as well.
Hello, I'm the Doctor, and you're watching BBC One.
Oops, sorry, I've pressed the wrong button. Crazy TARDIS, that's 1966. I do love the 60s though.
We're back. Sorry about that. Now, EastEnders.
I'm hoping that Ncuti just keeps on pressing buttons in the TARDIS, lands on BBC One in 1964, and Marco Polo just starts playing. And then that's how it's found again. Oh, it's dreadfully bad. It wasn't dreadful. What are you on about? That wasn't dreadfully bad. That was artful. That was amazing. You folks have no taste. You come into this live chat and disrespect me like that. Disrespect everybody's taste. But there's also been some really fun UK stuff as well. This clip has been doing the rounds as well on from BBC News Round.
Millie, if you had to travel with a different Doctor other than Ncuti, who would you go with and why?
What? Excuse me? What are you saying here? Absolutely not.
Matt Smith.
I would travel with Matt Smith as well. Yeah.
That's such a funny reaction. What?
Ncuti, who would you go with and why?
What? Excuse me? What are you saying here? Absolutely not.
Ncuti shouting at kids, my hero. 100% shouting at kids. There's also, I saw this clip on Instagram, that Ncuti and Millie playing Never Have I Ever on British Vogue.
Never have I ever had stage fright.
Yeah.
I was doing a performance of Grease, and I was about 10. As Rizzo was doing her There Are Worse Things I Can Do, that song is so long, by the way, I couldn't hold in a wee. And then we were doing You're the One That I Want, and Danny Zuko did the worm in my wee. I'm not even joking. And it was horrendous.
Mate, but
That's not stage fright, but I guess you do whip yourself when you're scared.
Never.
A little bit too much information, but it's a funny story, nevertheless. Just so many interviews, the press junket as well. We also had Russell T Davies on BBC Breakfast as well.
We're in. I think it's always got something to say about the world. I think science fiction at its best does. But I know what you mean on a bigger picture. It's like, that's what I was saying about Doctor Who being fun. It's my job to look at where we are, how we feel, look at the news you're reporting this morning, what a difficult, complicated world we live in. And so I genuinely looked at Doctor Who this time round and thought, it's time for fun. It's madder than it used to be. I think this version, it's wilder. It's funnier. Yeah, it is. It's kind of bigger and broader. And
I saw people trying to take Russell out of context for this interview when he was like, the past 60 years don't matter. And he was trying to say, and there were people trying to basically misquote him and be like, oh, they're saying that the past 60 years don't matter, don't care, he hates the fans, etc. And obviously you're going to get that reaction because these people just can't help but lie all of the time about everything ever. But it was a case of like, you don't need to understand anything about the past 60 years to like understand and appreciate this. That was literally all he was saying. But of course he gets misquoted. Of course they're trying to do double time, trying to misattribute quotes to him, because constantly all the time. There was also this Ncuti Gatwa message.
If you don't mind, there is a great big universe out there, Colin, and I've got to get going.
Feels very cool to be part of the Whoniverse. It's a beautiful collection of people. And the Whovians are very, very much in my heart. I love meeting the Whovians. I see how protective you lot are on social media. I see it. Me and Millie had this conversation in Cast Tent the other day about how protective you guys are, and it's really not unnoticed. It's very noticed, and we love you for it. The fact that
now, would you believe that people also misattributed intention in quotes from this clip as well, saying Ncuti Gatwa attacks the fans and hates the fans by talking about how defensive they are? Personally, I think that fans are just defensive because they love Doctor Who, and they also understand the fact that Ncuti Gatwa and his family had to hire 24/7 security when he was cast as the Doctor because conservatives hate black queer people so much. And at the time, they didn't even know he was queer. He was just a more effeminate like man who was in TV, and then he came out as queer several months later. But that, of course, does not matter. So yeah, I think the fact that he's making the distinction here, and yes, that is Crystal D at the front here. The fact that fans are able to make the distinction between people who actually watch and engage with the show and just hate mongers who just see the black man on TV, and then just get very, very angry and then make that their entire personality. I think that's appreciated, and of course Ncuti Gatwa gets that. I saw a load of people taking issue with some of the comments that Ncuti Gatwa has been making on the press tour, talking about, quote, white mediocrity and things like that. Just objectively correct things. It was basically the same as the Jodie Whittaker cycle as well, when she was doing those interviews and she said the white male gaze for classic Doctor Who, which once again is objectively correct. White male gaze is not a pejorative, it's a descriptive academic term to describe the perspective in which media is made from the dominant social hierarchy. And of course, maybe that's the issue when you take an academic term and say it in a press interview. Same with white mediocrity as well, but there's nothing objectively incorrect about what they've said. They are objectively correct in their statements and their assessments and that. But let's not forget, when people say, why is Ncuti bringing race into this? Why is Ncuti bringing sexuality into this? And I'm just thinking, my brothers and sisters in Christ, you're the ones who made this an issue and brought this up. You folks are the one who have made your entire personality getting very angry at people like Ncuti Gatwa for just existing, let alone being on TV. And I think he has a right to say something about that. I think he has a right to response. Honestly, these next 3+ years are going to be exhausting with clickbait press. Honestly, my assessment is that, let's say, for example, that this upcoming series is generally well received and also does gangbuster viewing figures. My prediction is that what we've seen recently with conservatives is that they've been massively overextending. They've been saying stuff like the Barbie movie is super woke trash that everyone hates and rejects, and then it makes $1.5 billion at the box office. They planted their flag firmly on the Super Mario Brothers being woke feminist trash, and then that becomes one of the most successful movies of the year. I think with stuff like that, they've basically overextended. And when it comes to Doctor Who, if the series does well, gets good viewing figures, they'll lambast it for the next 7 weeks, because we already know that the narratives are set in stone. The reviews are already written for the most part. They'll just do find and replace in terms of characters. They'll say this is woke, this is man bashing, etc. The narratives are already there, so predictable. These talking points are going to be very easy to rebut because they're always the same talking points. But when it comes to what happens after that, They might make the odd video or odd response here and there, but I think they'll understand that the narrative has turned against them, and they'll just subtly drop the subject and not really acknowledge it. That's my prediction. I mean, you might get some true believers who still kind of stick with it and will be like, anything with disabled people, anything with women front and center, queer, LGBTQ plus people, people of color, prominently, that's going to be super woke and bad, and you're going to get those true believers who are never going to drop that unless something drastic happens in their interpersonal relationships. But I think what's going to happen is that this is going to do, my prediction is that this is going to do really well with decent quality. Hopefully the next series is good. A lot of people are going to watch it and engage with it. And then by the time we get to the Christmas special and series 15, you're going to see a lot less internet reactionary coverage, with the exception of the true believers. That's my prediction right now. I mean, we already saw it with like GB News and Talk TV. When Ncuti Gatwa was announced as the Doctor, we saw that university lecturer from Liverpool saying that black people on TV screens is bad, it's social conditioning, we need to think of the children shouldn't be watching this. I've done videos on this, we've talked about this. That was the GB News position when Ncuti Gatwa was cast. People act like, why are you being so extreme when it comes to anti-conservatives? They're literally saying Ncuti Gatwa should not be on TV because he, as a black man, this is before he came out as queer, him as a black man is harmful to children being on TV screens. That was the conservative position when he was cast around 2 years ago. Now, when the Church of Ruby Road was broadcast, they were saying, yeah, it's fun. The odd woke thing, there's the odd pronouns cringe and the thing, but it was fun sci-fi entertainment. Maybe we shouldn't get better. The narrative completely fizzled out from these institutional power structures within about a year and a half. Like I said, you'll get the reactionaries who are like the true believers who will never let it go. They're the ones who Ncuti Gatwa has to hire 24/7 security for. Specifically, I think that when he and his family went to the security company, they just showed a mugshot of heel versus babyface, and the security guard was like, you're safe with us. I can guarantee you something like that happened. Pretty much what they're doing with X-Men 97 now. Yes, but I do think that because X-Men 97 was like lightning in a bottle, because it was something that was announced ages ago, and then it had a pretty short hype cycle, then the series drops. Doctor Who has been a constant on TV, on British TV, for nearly 20 years. They have had since 2015, 2016 to build up this thing, and now they need to let it die a little bit slower. They can't do an overnight, X-Men 97 is actually great and not woke. They can't do that overnight because they've spent so long building up that rhetoric and the reactions within their audience. They need to let them down a little bit slower than that. And that slowness is going to take place, I think, between June and December, depending on how the series is received. 2 years and a day ago, Ncuti Gatwa was announced as the Doctor. And then, and now we're here. It's going to be 2 years and 2 to 3 days since that initial announcement to him getting his first proper series. What's your opinion on X-Men 97? Haven't watched it. I don't have any nostalgia for the original show. I never watched the original one growing up. I was more of an X-Men Evolution type of guy. The original X-Men series in the 90s, I was a bit too young to really get into it. I wonder what they'd complain about if Capaldi was still on the show. But here's the thing, it wasn't just a Capaldi thing. This, we saw with the reaction to Series 10, when Pearl Mackie was cast, when they did the story of Oxygen, when they had the lesbian in the TARDIS, the black lesbian in the TARDIS, they hated it because of identity politics, because of that. Basically, exclusively, we already know what the reaction is. The best thing about reacting and responding to conservatives and reactionaries is that the responses are so predictable. One thing that's been really interesting is seeing the BBC go, fully commit to the marketing. They held a blue carpet premiere in America a couple of days ago, and like I said, they've been doing this full-on press tour. A lot of the press tour, I thought at first, would just be on the ABC network, because that's a network that's owned by Disney. ABC is Disney's terrestrial broadcast channel in America. But no, he had all of these other publications and all of these other channels who were wanting to interview Ncuti, wanting to interview Millie. There's genuine interest in Doctor Who in America for the biggest international interest that I can tell since 2011 when they were filming in America up to the 50th anniversary. So yeah, Obviously, I know Disney could just do the bare minimum and just launch the series and just let it die, like they did with that Crater series, like they did with the Willow series, neither of which are even available on Disney Plus anymore because they launched them and then they're no longer available. You can't legally watch those things anymore and like anywhere because they're basically lost media now. But with Doctor Who, it's good to see that this year they've really put their like full force behind the marketing. Like you've had like Times Square's like digital moving posters. You've had the New York Underground subway. You've had these interviews in the UK as well. Ncuti Gatwa is getting a Madame Tussauds waxwork as well, following the long tradition of Doctor Who doctors as well. Jodie Whittaker got one a few years ago. It's been really encouraging. Like, say what you will about Disney as a creative entity and as a creative force, but it's been very assuring to know that for this series at least, we'll see if that sustains over the next few years, but for this series, Disney Plus is treating Doctor Who like one of their own original shows that they're putting genuine actual backing behind. Like, they're doing the blue carpet premiere, they're inviting some big creatives, some big like famous geek and nerd names to the blue carpet premiere as well, and then it drops on Disney Plus in a prime time slot as well. Exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing if that maintains, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the international numbers are.